of economy they had, administration, and all that. We'll just have a look, okay? And then I'll show you a video in which very clearly you'll see the reasons why Delhi Sultanate failed, okay, or fell down. We call it the falling of a dynasty. Okay, monarchy. Yes, yes, Saira, good. Okay, so here comes the Sultan. Sultan, those rulers who had come from Afghanistan and Turk and others, they like to call themselves as sultans, okay? Sultan. So these sultan, they maintained the law and order, and they also protected the empire. As you see, they conquered most parts of India. And also he was the commander-in-chief of his army. So whatever the king says only will be followed. Who is the commander-in-chief of Indian Defense Forces? Can you tell me? I hope I asked it in your class. Who is the commander-in-chief of Indian forces right now, today in India? Yes. Can you tell me? The president. Very good, Siddheshwar. Very good. It's the president. So he is the commander-in-chief of all that. There is an army chief, okay? There is a chief for the Navy. He is called the admiral. And Air Marshal is there, who is there for the Air Force. But all these three people come under the president, okay? So everything move has to be made according to the president's order. If a war has to be waged, the president has to give his consent and sign, then only the war can start. Okay, even ceasefire is also like that. Peace treaty, everything under the president. So in those days, it was Sultan. Okay. Then we were talking about nobles. The nobles in the courts of these sultans, they were the men who actually were running the administration. Okay. And then we saw about army. So army, it helped the Sultan to stay in power, and the army comprised of infantry and archery, cavalry and elephants we saw yesterday. And the Delhi Sultanate, it had under it Ujjain, Ranthambore, Lahore, Punjab, Sindh, Bengal. They came till Vindhya also down here. And Alauddin Khilji, he was a very good Sultan. He extended his territory and his army also till Deccan. And he maintained a very good standing army and business, trade also. So the economy of the Sultanate period, it was very good. Land revenue was very good. And the army was maintained, and the salaries were given to the soldiers from the tax that the government, that the Sultan used to get. He also used to construct buildings with the tax that he got. Okay, so Alauddin Khilji, he was the one who changed and rearranged all the land revenue system under him. So also they took steps to improve agriculture. Especially Firoz Shah Tughlaq was very much interested in agriculture. So he brought many changes in agriculture. Okay, so one of the most important thing of this economic measure was introduced during Alauddin Khilji, that he fixed the prices, fixed the markets. Okay, fish market, only fish can get. In those days, otherwise, in one market itself, in one place you'll get fish, in one place vegetable, in one place like it will be a hodgepodge. So fish market, it will be for fish. Vegetable market, vegetable. Non-veg, non-veg. Okay. So it was in that way he improved it. And also he standardized the measures. Alauddin Khilji. Okay, now why, when all this was good, why did the kingdom go down? So there are reasons. There are reasons. There were frequent battles. These kings have to fight with a nearby small kingdom. So when it becomes battle, war, they'll be losing people and money also. And army lacked skill to protect the empire. They were not as strong as they were during the Khiljis. So later on, they became weak. And the Mongol invaders like Timur and all also came inside. Now, I want you to see the video for yourself and learn why the Delhi Sultanate declined. Shall we see? Here we go inside the video.
The Khilji dynasty, the Sayyid, the Tughlaq dynasty, and yesterday we completed the Lodi dynasty as well. Now in today's video, we will be seeing that how after the death of Ibrahim Lodi, who belonged to Lodi dynasty, the Delhi Sultanate completely came to an end. Well, there were some of the underlying causes which led to the downfall of this humongous sultanate. So let us see point-wise which were some of the main reasons which led to the complete end of this era, that is complete decline of the Delhi Sultanate. See, we see the decline began immediately after the death of Muhammad bin Tughlaq, because afterwards neither his successors and nor other rulers could carry forward the legacy of this dynasty. So for the sake of convenience, I have made a sort of flow chart and have in a short represented all the 6 points which are the main causes for the decline of Delhi Sultanate. There are numerous other causes as well, but we need to focus mainly on the big reasons which led to the decline. So the first one is the failed reforms of Muhammad bin Tughlaq, which I had discussed in the Tughlaq dynasty, that he introduced a number of reforms which either led to his financial instability or led to his mockery among the people. So none of his reforms were successful. Second is the greed and inefficiency of the rulers. Rulers were very much interested towards the expansion of their territory, and hence in that greed they used to forget the proper administration. The third is despotic and military type of government. Now the government only was dependent solely on military system, and when other rulers would come and rebel against them, they would shatter like anything. And the fourth one is the vastness of empire. Now the rulers were busy on including the territories under their periphery, but somewhere they were lacking behind in the proper administration. It is always advisable to have small quantity of something but to maintain the quality. So this was the case of with the rulers of the Delhi Sultanate. Now the fifth one is the no control over the nobles. We will see, or we will deal in greater detail in the further slides. And the fifth and the ultimate cause was the invasion by Timur. So this was the ultimate and one of the biggest reasons which led to the total ruining of Delhi Sultanate. So let's proceed and see point-wise which were the reasons which led to the decline of this dynasty. So the first one being the failed reforms of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. And if you remember, I had given 5 points, which were the taxation on the Doab region, introduction of the token currency. He launched 2 expeditions. One was at Karachi and the other was at Khusrasan. And he even introduced bronze coins. So let us see. Now he fell into the pit of financial constraints after having introduced the bronze coins. Now what happened? He introduced a number of bronze coins, and at that time silver and gold coins were in vogue. So what happened, that people began forging the new coins. As a result, he suffered incurable loss, and ultimately he had to exchange the bronze coins in return for silver and gold. Now he also undertook reforms like taxation on the Doab region of Ganga and Yamuna river. So this was his another failure in his reform policy. He, in order to get financial stability, he introduced taxation on the Doab region. Now the second thing which he did, that he transferred the capital from Delhi to Agra. Delhi to Daulatabad or Devagiri. Now Delhi was in the extreme north of India and Daulatabad was a bit towards south. So what happened that he thought that when he will be in the center, he will be able to control both the parts of India. But when he shifted his capital, he found that he was able to control neither of the kingdoms. So this in a way was his strategic setback or failure, you can say. He even undertook 2 expeditions, one at Khusrasan and the other was at Karachil. In his former expedition, which is in his Khusrasan expedition, what he did that he built an army of over 1 lakh and he also paid them advance salary. Now this was his greed. This was his over greed, which gave him a financial slap. What he did that he made an army, he paid them advance salary, and he had also acquired the consent of Iraq ruler who had promised to help the Sultan at the time of war. But the Iraqi
Excuse me,
ruler
ma'am.
step at the very crucial.
Ma'am,
Telling us, sir?
ma'am, video was it's not clear, ma'am.
Oh, it's not clear. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I'll switch.
Yes.
Okay, okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Stage and had
Okay, children, the video is not very clear and also it was going little lengthy. So I'll try to get another video for you tomorrow, which will very shortly it will describe to you because it's very difficult to get till the lower levels. So these are the reasons for the decline of the Delhi Sultanate. They did much good also. There was a lot of good things that they had done. Okay, building also they did, and they changed the Indian market system. They changed the Indian army system. Okay, so at this time, the Mongols came to attack India. That was a great blow to the this empire. Okay, empire of Delhi Sultanate. So this is the lesson. Now, I want to discuss with you a few points that we have learned. We'll discuss it. I'll be sending you your notes. Please study that, and PPT also you should watch. Tomorrow I'll show you your PPT also. Okay, so the Delhi Sultanate, it comprised of 5 dynasties as we saw. Can you name them? Can you write the name of the dynasty? The Turks who came, who sat on the throne of Delhi. Can you name the dynasties as I was telling you? Okay, you may not remember. Khilji, okay, one of it. Very good, Pritika. Yes, Khiljis, okay. Then, just now you're seeing about a king, no, Tughlaqs. Very good, Tughlaq. Mughals came later, okay, Sai? Mughals come later, not now. They are not in the Delhi Sultanate, okay? So Khiljis, the slave dynasty, very good. Lodi and Tughlaq. Alan, good, very good. So we are seeing here, there is the slave dynasty. First, Qutbuddin Aibak and his descendant. Then comes Khilji dynasty. In Khilji dynasty, Alauddin Khilji is the best ruler. Then comes the Tughlaq dynasty, in which we have Muhammad bin Tughlaq and other rulers. And then comes Sayyid dynasty. And lastly comes Lodi dynasty, in which the last ruler is Ibrahim Lodi. Oh, very good, Siddheshwar. Beautiful with the years you have given. Wonderful. Thank you. So you people are understanding, you people are listening to it, okay? So that's very nice. Second point is that Qutbuddin Aibak, he became the first Sultan of Delhi in 1206 CE and founded the slave dynasty. His successors were Iltutmish, Razia Sultan and Balban, 4 rulers from his kingdom. See how good he would have been that his master, when he was leaving India and going, he made him the ruler. He was a slave. You know, there is a difference between a slave and a servant. You know what is the difference between a slave and a servant, children? Servant, you pay them. They will work for you. If they don't want, they will leave and go. And if you don't want also, you can send them away. Okay, there is no other difficulty. But slave means, yes. Who said that? They have to stay with the owner. Yes, they will not be paid. They will get everything they want, house, they will get food, clothing, everything the master will buy and give, but they have to live with the master. They cannot leave. Sometimes the master may ask them to go. If they want to go, they can go. Otherwise, they have to be with the master. So this Qutbuddin Aibak was a slave, and Muhammad Ghori made him his successor and gave him a kingdom. And see, so wonderfully, you know, after him, his son-in-law comes, then his daughter comes, and then comes the last ruler, Balban. Okay, it's very wonderful rule. Okay, then comes Jalaluddin Khilji. He established the Khalji rule in Delhi, and he was succeeded by Alauddin Khalji. He was a wonderful ruler, Alauddin Khalji. Yes. Then comes the Tughlaq dynasty. In this we see Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq. He founded the Tughlaq dynasty, and he was succeeded by his son, Muhammad bin Tughlaq. As we were seeing in the video, Muhammad bin Tughlaq was the wisest fool. He made so many plans, good plans, but they were not carried out properly. So all his plans failed. Okay. Then comes Kher Khan, Timur's viceroy. He established the rule of Sayyid dynasty in Delhi. And the Sayyid dynasty was replaced by then Lodi dynasty, in which the last ruler was Ibrahim Lodi. So now there was a system of collection. The system during the British time, it was called Iqtadari system. They used to pay the nobles and the officers of their army their salaries. It was called the Iqtadari system, and the collection of land revenue and everything was properly appointed, not like the British time. In the British time, they used to collect a lot of taxes. There was nothing fixed, and people used to give a lot. But during the Sultanate, it was not like that. Even when there is some famine or no rain and no crop, they could easily make some changes in their collection. Okay, so showing pity to the people. Now also government does know if there is a cyclone or something, they will say, okay, all the debts that these farmers have, it is just waived off. You need not pay it. Okay, so that type of thing happened in those days. So this kingdom was a flourishing kingdom, the Delhi Sultanates. Okay, anybody else? Any doubts you have, children? Yes, still we have time. I want to discuss with you. No doubts. Okay. I know it's pretty difficult without books, but then we'll try to make it up. Okay. So, Razia Sultan, she was the only lady in the Delhi Sultanate. I wanted to tell you something about her. Climbing the throne of Delhi as a woman, and that too, not a Hindu woman, but as an Islamic woman. Razia Sultan, she's not called Razia Begum, she's called Razia Sultan. That is Hazrat Begum, another ruler. So it was very difficult for her. So when her father found that she is more courageous and she is more able than her brothers, so he made her the ruler. But she ruled only for 4 years. Her brothers and also the nobles of the court, they could not accept this. They could not accept that a woman rule over them. So what did they do? They planned somehow, they murdered her. So after her death, her brother becomes the Yes, she was the first, and I think she's the last. Nobody else sat on the throne of Delhi. No woman sat on the throne of Delhi. Okay. So you must have learnt about so many rulers in Delhi. After this, we'll be studying about the Mughals who ascended the throne of Delhi. Okay. She died in a war, yes, but they made it in such a way, the plan, that she's killed in the war. They cannot kill her because she is queen, no? She is ruling. You cannot just go and kill her like that. You cannot do that. Okay, so they make it in such a way, they make a plan that she dies in a war. Okay, that is what many stories you'll come across where you'll see that they die in war, but actually they don't die in war, they are killed. Jhansi Rani also, she died fighting. Okay, lastly, she asked for water, and one of the sage who was passing by, he brought some water and gave her, and she was happy to drink the water from the Gangas. Okay, so she passed away on the battlefield. Yes, they killed her, yes, in a way, in such a way that it will not be considered as murder, but as dying in the battlefield. Okay, so these kings and the rulers, they some of them, they did much good to the administration and also to the army of this land. Though they were foreigners, yet they did much good to us. Now they are so much mixed with the Indian and the Indian blood that you are not able to find anything separate. Okay, so they are still there, they are all mingled. Now you cannot find the difference. So these foreigners, these people are the Turks, some of them are Mongols, some of them are Arabians, some of them from Afghanistan. When they came inside India and they started ruling India, what happened is that many changes came in social, economic, and religious life of the Indian society. Okay, then after this, the Europeans started coming, the Portuguese, the Dutch, the French, and the British. They still made more changes and brought India towards, led India towards civilization. Otherwise, we will not have been civilized. Yes, yes, she was the woman who was involved in the throne of Delhi. Yes. Okay, Pratika Mamluk, Khilji. Yeah, the slave dynasty, they were called as Mamluks. Okay, Mamluk dynasty. Okay, so this is how the system was. And now we have many foreign blood mixed in the Indian blood. Like you can see, Anglo-Indians, Anglo-French people are there, and people like those Muslims who had come inside, their blood is also mixed with the Indian blood. So the pure form of our blood is not there. It's all mixed. Many places we have people who have mixed blood, okay? So they are not purely Indians, we can say. But they have come so knitted together with our culture that you cannot even differentiate. You cannot even see the difference. See, the Anglo-Indians, they are so much like us. They eat and their habits and everything is like us. You cannot differentiate, okay? So these are the things that made a new India. India was not like it used to be. Still further, when you go and study the history, you will find that when Britishers came, that time only India became one. Till now they are fighting. Okay, small kingdoms, Marathas, Rajputs, Sikhs, okay, they all are Chauhans, they all are separate. Here, Chera, Chola, Pandyas, all. But when Gandhiji took a tour and went all over India to bring all those people together, then we came under one flag called the Indian flag. And then we started realizing that, I'm not a Tamilian, I belong to India, I'm an Indian. Oh, I'm not a Kashmiri, I am an Indian. I'm not a Marathi, I am an Indian. So that feeling came inside the Indians only after the Britishers came and there was the War of Independence in 1857. said. After that, we started fighting. Finally, Gandhiji came. He united India together. He traveled, he spoke with people and made all revolts at a time all over India. So we got freedom. And now we have the feeling, national feeling. It is called the national feeling that I am an Indian. I don't call myself by my state or the language that I speak. Yes, under the tricolor. Yes, unity in diversity. Yes, Alan, beautiful words you're typing. Children, very good. Yes. So now we have unity in diversity, different cultures. There's no country like our country in the whole world having so many different cultures, so many different languages, and within one language, there are so many branches. Here in Tamil Nadu, you see, people in Madras speak differently. People in Trichy, they speak differently. And people in Madurai and Tirunelveli and Kanyakumari, they will talk differently. And you can very immediately, you can find out, oh, you belong to Kanyakumari? Yes. The way you talk, we'll find out. But it's not like that in any other country. So many ways, so many dresses, so many ways of dressing up and accessories, dance and culture and worship. Everything is different. Food, okay? We say this is Punjabi dish, this is Gujarati dish, and this is whatnot, Goan dish. So we have so many different things. It's because of this different culture and different language coming together that we are put together as one India. Now say how many of you are proud to be an Indian, though we have so much of differences. Yes? Yes. Okay. So many are proud to be an Indian. Okay. Someone in the class thinking, oh, why was I born in India? I should have been born in America or in London. Is there anyone with that thought? It's not wrong. It's not wrong to think like that. But then you'll slowly learn to love India. Yes, nobody's there in this class. Oh, we're born in Singapore. Very good. I'm proud to be an Indian. Wonderful. Okay. You're born in Singapore, but still you are an Indian, right, Cynthia? Yes. So let that feeling grow in us. Proud to be an Indian, Siddheshwar. Very good. Indians have a very good heart, okay? Little twist is there. You can just always make it right, okay? And then we can live for our country, to make our country proud of us. As you are proud of the country, let the country be proud of you. Okay, let the President of India say one day, yes, Sai Raghav, I am proud of you. Yes, Alan, I'm proud of you. Shafia, I'm proud of you. So we can make people proud. Yes or no? Yes. Once a group of small junior young scientists, they call themselves young scientists, they went from Madurai to Delhi to receive some award, okay, from the president. And at that time, the president was Dr. Abdul Kalam. So when in that group, one person was selected to go and see the president. And you know what? He was talking in English, and the president said, "Dey, you are from Madurai, talk in Tamil."
Excuse me, ma'am.
That was so. Yes, sir. Time is over.
Time up now.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, children. Have a nice day.